Hello everybody, my name is John Kedroff. I'm a foods and nutrition major here at San Diego State University. So I decided to do my presentation on the industrialization of America's food supply. My question was, did the American government, the robber barons, and the greedy corporations of the United States rape and pillage all of America's natural resources as they moved out west and cause the industrialization of America's food supply and cause the citizens of America to be dependent upon it? As we were all taught in this class, greedy people in power took bribes to pass laws and to make stuff happen that didn't benefit the citizens of America, but only benefited the corporations and the rich people. To make this transcontinental railroad happen, massive amount of bribes were taken and massive amounts of land was given to these corporations in order to be able to do this. Although it was a great feat to make a railroad that connected the east and the west coast, which would have been great to move people if we would have used it wisely. But instead, the corporations decided to use it to their benefit only. In 1869, the Transcontinental Railroad was complete. Many people died in the construction of this railroad. There was more races involved than the three that I'm going to mention, but the three main ones were the Chinese, the blacks, and the Irish. It was a great feat to actually get this railroad complete. As you can see, they had to build massive trestles to cross valleys. They had to move massive amounts of land to flatten out certain areas, and they had to blast through mountains to make this happen. In the process, many people died, thousands of people. Here is a graph showing the death rate per 1,000 workers. The fifth one down is the Transcontinental Railroad. That shows 80 people died per 1,000 workers. Not to mention the Indians, the Native Americans. As the railroad was passing through their hunting grounds, of course, they got very mad. So wars were created. Many Indians, Native Americans were dispersed, and many people had to die for no reason. As the railroads went across the land, the Indians got mad, and the military decided to target the buffalo as a way to control and get rid of the Native Americans. This shows in 1800s there was 65 million buffalo that roamed the Great Plains of America, and in 1890 there was only 1,000 left. The image that really strikes me is the one on the right hand bottom corner where it shows the skulls of all these buffaloes. That's a massive amount of buffalo that were killed, which America could have used. The Indians only killed what they need, and they let the rest of the population grow and resupply so that way they could eat. They had a way of dealing with the land that could have was sustainable. As we also went across, we decided to take all the lumber. Here is a graph showing in the 1620s in the top left-hand corner. The green area was the great forests that we used to have here in America. And in the bottom right-hand corner, the green areas were our forest in 1920s. For everybody who wants to complain about the California taxes and how we're hippies about the land and keeping everything green and nice, I want to just point out the West Coast is doing a great job of keeping their forests compared to what happened to the rest of the America. It surprises me greatly how much forests we used to have on the East Coast and the eastern side of the Midwest compared to what it got decimated to. So please don't complain about those taxes. As we went across America, the rich corporations that own the railroads that got the free land decided to sell the free land back to the people to farm. Um, Most of these farmers grew wheat and crops that weren't native to the area. So when the 1900s drought came, the wheat was not able to sustain because it wasn't a natural crop, and so the wheat died, leaving nothing to hold the soil to the ground. So when storms came through, it created the Great Dust Bowl, which decimated the area, and everybody had to move. People weren't happy with this in America. You know, the one percenters got to keep everything. They got to be rich. They got to eat. They got to live nicely. They got to do whatever they wanted. Meanwhile, the rest of us had to fight and try to feed our families. And when we voiced concern, when we decided to hold protests, when we decided that enough was enough, they sent out the US military to disperse us like we were just animals causing chaos, um, which was not right. And once, you know, you could see the Capitol building in the background, all these people just went to the Capitol, they went to the people in power, and they just were asking what's going on. And they didn't care because the rich corporations, the robber barons, all their friends were sitting in the power of the Congress. And they still are, in my opinion. So after all that happened, there was no food, there was no buffalo, there was no land to grow good crops on. Farmers weren't able to sustain themselves and feed their own families. So the corporations decided to get richer, and they took the little bit of food that we had and they decided to can it, making it unnatural, unhealthy, processed, and not natural food for humans. So we learned how to live off of that. And here we are, sick and unhealthy in these days as a byproduct. And to finish this off, I think the lawmakers that gave these corporations the power and illegally gave our land away, illegally killed all the food in America, the bison, the natural habitats, destroyed our forests so that way the animals couldn't repopulate. Um, I think since the law gave them the the power to destroy everything, I think the law should be taken into account, and everybody that made this happen and everybody who got rich off of everything that happened should be made to give everything back and use these billions and trillions of dollars that they earned off of it to make this right again. I believe that they should be planting these forests again to give us our forests back. I think they should be making the Great Plains of America grasslands again, and put the buffalo back. And I think we all need to do our part to make this happen. I think we can lobby this in law. It will probably take a long time. It'll probably take a lot of wars. It'll probably take a lot of uprising. But in the end, I think we as American citizens have the power to do this. And that's my presentation. Thanks for putting up with my crappy video, and I will see you next time.